LeBron is trying hard to erase this from the internet, but his latest power move may have just torn his own family apart. He went on his podcast and casually told the whole world that the Lakers lost because the roster, including his own son, just wasn't talented enough. The internet is ripping him apart for it, but it gets way worse. Wait till you hear how Bronny fired back behind closed doors. The nerve it takes to sit in $1 million podcast studio, sip expensive wine, and tell the entire world that your teammates were just too bad to win a playoff series is honestly something else. On the May 21st episode of Mind the Game, LeBron sat across from Steve Nash and decided to torch his own team. He looked Nash straight in the eye and said this.
But ultimately, if we're being completely honest, we were out-talented.
And just in case anyone thought he misspoke, he said it again.
But at the end of the day, we failed in talent. OKC just possessed so much more talent than us.
You cannot make this up. He is sitting there acting like some innocent bystander who got stuck on a bad roster, completely forgetting that he personally forced the front office to build this exact team. And LeBron, just so you know, when you go on a huge media platform and tell millions of people that your team completely failed in talent, you're talking about your own son too. For 2 straight years, LeBron made it his public mission to get Bronny on this roster. The Lakers front office bent over backwards, burned draft picks, and gave a guaranteed spot to a kid who shot 26% from 3 in college, just to keep LeBron happy. And then, the second things get hard against OKC, LeBron looks at the camera and says the team just didn't have enough talent. The level of delusion it takes to throw your own kid under the bus just to save your own image is wild. He basically called his son a roster problem on national TV and did it without blinking. And the context around this series makes the blame shifting even worse. The Lakers were already hurting because Luka Doncic was out with a bad grade 2 hamstring injury. On top of that, Austin Reeves missed 4 of 6 games with a serious oblique injury. This was the exact moment a guy who calls himself one of the greatest ever was supposed to step up and protect his struggling teammates from the media. Instead, LeBron played the victim. And honestly, no one who has watched his career should be shocked. But the timing of this podcast drop was a real low blow. But here's where it gets really crazy. Lakers insider Jovan Buha dropped a big report exposing the podcast segment as a calculated, passive-aggressive shot aimed directly at the Lakers front office.
It was actually talent. They were out-talented by OKC, and that was a not-so-veiled shot at the front office, at the organization, and he's taken those before over the last few years.
According to Buha, LeBron used the platform to completely shift the blame away from his own on-court execution.
According to Buha, LeBron used the platform to shift all blame away from his own performance and dump it on management, building a protective wall before the offseason even started. This move reportedly caused a serious war behind closed doors. High-ranking Lakers executives are furious because they gave up long-term flexibility and took a massive PR hit just to keep LeBron's family happy, only for him to publicly suggest they didn't give him enough help. But if you think a passive-aggressive podcast line is bad, just wait. The real story of how Bronny got on this roster proves the front office was backed into a corner they never wanted to be in. We are talking about a billion-dollar franchise getting hijacked by one player and his agent. LeBron spent 2 full years telling every GM in the league that he would go to whatever team drafted his son. He wrecked any fair scouting process before the draft even began because everyone knew the fix was in. And Clutch Sports made it even dirtier. Rich Paul was out here calling rival front offices and threatening them, warning teams that if they picked Bronny in the second round, LeBron would go play overseas. He cleared the runway so the Lakers had no choice. And the funny part is, people think the Lakers were excited to burn a draft pick on a kid who averaged 4 points at USC while shooting 26% from 3. Come on. ESPN reported that Lakers owner Jeannie Buss was privately furious, telling her inner circle that LeBron and Clutch Sports had a stranglehold on the entire organization. She felt trapped, forced to hand LeBron a big contract she didn't want to give while knowing the team would get roasted online for the nepotism. It got so bad that Jeannie reportedly started talking about trading LeBron to the Clippers just to be done with the constant drama. And the kicker? She felt LeBron wasn't even grateful that she bent the rules to draft his son. So look at the full picture. The owner of the Lakers gave a roster spot to a kid out of pure obligation, and LeBron thanked her by going on a podcast and basically calling her management decisions trash. He didn't just bite the hand that fed him, he bit the hand that fed his son too. And here is the real damage. By locking up a guaranteed salary and burning that 55th pick on Bronny, the Lakers killed their own flexibility to build a real team. They had no assets left to bring in a proven 3-and-D wing or a physical big man, which were exactly the players they needed to stop Oklahoma City from blowing them out in the playoffs. Even analysts like Doug Gottlieb were calling it out live, saying flat out that Bronny is simply not an NBA player right now, and that LeBron forced it because he could. Adam Finkelstein from 24/7 Sports backed that up too, pointing out that LeBron controls more front office decisions than any player ever and had been setting this trap for 2 years, never stopping to ask whether his son was actually ready. LeBron squeezed the franchise dry, got everything he wanted, and then blamed the losses on a lack of talent that he personally engineered. But if you think the front office being angry is wild, the actual numbers Bronny put up this season prove LeBron wasn't just talking about role players on that podcast. He was directly describing his own son. This 2025-26 season, Bronny averaged just 2.9 points, 0.5 rebounds, and 1.2 assists per game. He played 42 games at only 8.9 minutes a night, mostly because playing him any longer was hurting the team's spacing. Early in the year, the coaching staff tried giving him real minutes against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He played 5 full minutes and recorded 0 points, 0 assists, and 0 rebounds, while opposing guards were carving him up on the other end. And really, anyone who expected him to be a real rotation piece was kidding themselves. His college numbers were already a huge red flag. At USC, he averaged 4.8 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 2.1 assists while shooting just 36.6% from the field and an even worse 27.7% from three. Those aren't lottery numbers. Those aren't even second-round numbers. Those are barely good enough to get an unguaranteed invite to a G League camp. Former NBA player Charlie Villanueva went on his podcast and said out loud what players around a league are thinking behind closed doors.
We know.
You're sick.
No way.
Very valid.
You're sick. There is no way he should be in the NBA. But anyways.
It gets even heavier when you think about the history of the franchise LeBron compromised. Comedian Ari Spears summed up the frustration of longtime basketball fans by pointing out that this storied organization went from Jerry West, Wilt, Shaq, Kareem, Kobe, and Worthy straight to Bronny James through pure nepotism.
Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaq, Kareem, Kobe, Worthy, to now Bronny James, due to nepotism.
A franchise built on true icons got turned into a private development program for a billionaire's son. But if you think the stats are bad, you have no idea what was brewing inside the James household. Because Bronny caught wind of his dad's public comments and his response cracked that perfect family image wide open. The first rule of being a sports dad is that you protect your kid no matter what. But LeBron went on a global platform and called his own son a roster problem just to save himself. When Bronny heard what his dad said, his response broke that happy family story apart. Bronny allegedly told people close to him that his dad can have his opinions, but they aren't always right. You can feel the exhaustion in that statement. It's a 21-year-old realizing he was used as a trophy for his dad's personal bucket list, and the second things went bad, he got tossed aside. But here's the thing. This tension didn't come out of nowhere. Bronny actually warned us about it before he ever put on a Lakers jersey. At the 2024 Draft Combine, he told a room full of reporters that his dream was always to make his own name, and that he never really thought about playing with his dad, even though LeBron had brought it up a few times.
You know, I never thought about just playing with my dad, but of course he's brought it up a couple times.
Read between the lines. This kid never wanted to set up, He wanted to stay at USC or transfer, develop naturally, and earn his place without the whole basketball world waiting for him to fail. But his father took over his career path anyway. The saddest part is that Bronny is now stuck in an impossible spot. He's out here putting up 0 stat lines against Minnesota while his dad plays innocent bystander who just happened to land on a weak roster. Think about how twisted this is. Bronny is trapped in a basketball nightmare while his dad is turning the whole mess into a money-making media machine. This isn't just a tense family dinner, this is a whole business operation. LeBron signed a massive deal with Amazon to put Mind the Game on Prime Video, Amazon Music, Fire TV, and YouTube. So when he sits in that studio and says the roster lacked talent, he isn't just venting, he's turning his own son's public humiliation into paid content. The show's official pitch says it exists so LeBron can control his own story and shape how his legacy is seen. In plain words, he built a media machine to protect his image, and if his 21-year-old son becomes collateral damage along the way, that's just the cost of doing business in the James household. Skip Bayless called this move years ago.
He is now, hands down, the all-time greatest master media manipulator in the history of all of sports.
The business machine behind all of this explains exactly why the family dynamic broke down behind closed doors, and it is why Bronny is telling his inner circle that his dad's opinions are just flat out wrong. The kid is waking up to the fact that he was put on this team to serve his dad's story first and be a real basketball player second. But LeBron didn't stumble into this pattern by accident. He has been building and perfecting his media manipulation playbook for nearly 2 decades. He has a long, well-documented history of rewriting the story the second things go wrong. Go back to the 2011 finals. His Miami super team fell apart against Dirk and the Mavericks in a series where LeBron looked completely lost. He averaged just 17 points and disappeared in every fourth quarter. But instead of owning it at the podium, he attacked the fans.
All the people that was rooting on me to fail, at the end of the day, they got to wake up tomorrow and have the same life that they had.
You can trace that same mindset back to the summer of 2010 when he took over an entire network to announce the decision, publicly humiliating the Cleveland Cavaliers on live TV just to say he was heading to South Beach. Even Michael Jordan looked at that disaster and said he never would have called up Larry Bird or Magic Johnson to team up because he actually wanted to beat those guys.
Just hindsight, I would have never called up Larry, called up Magic and say, hey, let's get together and play on one team. I mean, that's, in all honesty, I was trying to beat those guys.
And then months later, after LeBron left Cleveland, his old teammates got destroyed by 55 points against the Lakers in the worst loss in franchise history. LeBron didn't stay quiet. He jumped on Twitter and posted, "Crazy, karma is a bitch. Gets you every time. It's not good to wish bad on anybody. God sees everything." He always finds a way to paint himself as the victim. The same thing happened with head coach David Blatt back in January 2016. Blatt was brought in right before LeBron returned to Cleveland. Despite leading the team to a 30-11 record at the top of the East, he was fired, becoming the first coach in modern NBA history to get cut while leading his conference. All because LeBron and Rich Paul were working behind the scenes to bring in Tyronn Lue. LeBron was calling his own plays, ignoring the bench, and subbing himself in and out like he owned the whole franchise. And he runs this same play over and over, signing short one-year deals to hold teams hostage and force front offices to trade away young pieces like Brandon Ingram, Lonzo Ball, and Kyle Kuzma just to go win now. Sure, maybe those guys weren't stars, but we could say the same about Bronny. LeBron pushes for massive roster changes like the Russell Westbrook disaster, and the moment it blows up, he acts completely shocked like he had nothing to do with it. But while LeBron is busy building his media shield, the Lakers front office is quietly planning a countermove he never saw coming. High-ranking executives are reportedly done being held hostage and are preparing an off-season response that could change how the whole league handles superstar power. The real irony of LeBron sitting on his podcast crying about a talent gap is that he is trying to rewrite what accountability even means in basketball. If you want to see how a real leader handles getting punched in the mouth, look at the guys who actually built this league. When Michael Jordan was getting physically beaten up by the bad boy Pistons in the late 80s, he didn't hop on air to call his teammates trash. He didn't threaten to demand a trade. He pulled Horace Grant and Scottie Pippen into the weight room, took the blame publicly, and forced the whole team to grow. Same with Kobe Bryant. Watch the tape from when Kobe was playing alongside Smush Parker and Kwame Brown, or after the brutal 2008 finals loss to Boston. Kobe never threw a passive-aggressive shot at Mitch Kupchak or Jeannie Buss. His mindset was always about personal execution and figuring out how to win no matter who was next to him. MJ and Kobe demanded better from their front offices in private, but when the cameras came on, they took the hits for their teams. LeBron does the opposite. He uses his polished digital platform to separate his own stats from his team's failures, while his teammates take all the blame. But the real peak of this drama leads straight to the biggest question shaking the Lakers facility right now. LeBron James is officially a free agent. He said it out loud on that same podcast episode, stating clearly that he is a free agent and controls his own future. So let's play this out. If LeBron walks, uses his player option, or signs somewhere new this offseason, what actually happens to Bronny? Does a 21-year-old who averaged 2.9 points a game stay on a championship or bust roster that his own dad just publicly called under-talented? Or does he get packed up and shipped to the next city to continue the family tour? LeBron has spent his whole career saying he's a father first, and telling the world that playing alongside his son was the greatest blessing a dad could have. But a real father prepares his son for the real world. He doesn't use the biggest stage in basketball as his personal bucket list, only to look at the camera when it falls apart and call the whole thing a failure. LeBron engineered the roster, forced the draft pick, drained the franchise of every flexible asset it had, and then blamed the playoff exit on a lack of talent. Now the ball is in the Lakers' court. Drop your thoughts below. Is LeBron out of line for throwing his own roster under the bus, or are the Lakers getting exactly what they deserved for letting a player run the front office?